The first hurricane of the 2024 Atlantic hurricane season is born. Good evening, I'm Mike Nasel with this 11 p.m. Eastern Time update on this Saturday night, June 29th, and we have a hurricane headed for the Windward Islands of the Caribbean. That's Hurricane Beryl, looking very, very ominous as it races at 20 miles an hour right towards areas of the southern windwards, now forecast to be a major hurricane, a strong Category 3, unprecedented for this time of year. It's happened, but it is rare, and it's going to impact the Caribbean islands with potentially very, very dangerous, life-threatening storm surge and winds. Here's the latest as of 11 p.m. Atlantic time, which is also Eastern time, from the National Hurricane Center on Hurricane Beryl. It's at 10.4 north, 51.2 west. Winds are up to 85 miles per hour, so it's a strong Category 1, and the pressure continues to fall down to 986 millibars. That's estimated. We're going to have an Air Force plane and a NOAA plane flying around in Beryl tomorrow to give us more information. It's moving west, as I mentioned, at 20 miles per hour, and that forecast brings it through the southern Windward Islands sometime on Monday as a major hurricane. After that, it should remain a dangerous hurricane as it cruises through the Caribbean. However, it should encounter some upper-level wind shear that will eventually cause it to weaken to a weaker hurricane, but still a hurricane, as it takes aim probably at the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico sometime by Thursday or Friday. But again, it could be on the southern edge of this cone, more towards Central America. It could be on the northern edge, more towards western Cuba. It's just too far out to know for certain. Now, we do have hurricane warnings in effect. I want to read them off for Barbados, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadine Islands, and Grenada. And then we have a tropical storm warning for Martinique and Tobago, and a tropical storm watch for Dominica. So again, pretty much anywhere in this region is where the hurricane conditions are expected, and that includes areas there of Barbados, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, Grenada, and the Grenadines. I'll tell you more about those islands in just a second, but again, very, very dangerous conditions expected. Here's the latest satellite imagery of Hurricane Beryl. Again, right in here is the eye. We haven't had a well-defined eye pop out, but it will. And once it does, intensification should continue at a very rapid rate. It's expected to rapidly intensify. And I'm going to tell you this. The last time we had a major hurricane that we know of, Category 3 or higher, during the month of June, was Hurricane Alma in 1966. Okay? So, 58 years. Now, it has to reach Category 3 strength before July 1st, and it might. It looks like intensification should continue throughout the night and during the day on Sunday, making this a very dangerous and rare early season major hurricane. It does happen. In July, we've had some major hurricanes. I know in 2008, we had Hurricane Bertha, which remained out at sea. And then in 2005, we had two Caribbean major hurricanes, Dennis and Emily, which were both very destructive, especially Hurricane Dennis. So again, it does happen. It's not unheard of, but it is very rare. And I think the reason it's happening is because of how favorable this Atlantic hurricane season is going to be. Look at this little buzzsaw we got going here. The environment looks pretty prime for all development, and once this convection really blows up, we will see Hurricane Beryl continue to strengthen. Here's the upper level wind map, and again, very favorable low wind shear right over the top of it, and it will have a jet to the north, and especially the small size. By the way, I should note, hurricane force winds only extend out 15 miles from the center, and tropical storm force winds 70 miles. So Beryl is a very small hurricane as of right now. And the thing about small hurricanes is they can spin up or down very, very quickly. Look at this shear tendency map. This is bad news. It's going to have low shear. Ignore this little strip here because that's going to move along with the hurricane. It's going to have a good wind shear environment all the way into the Caribbean Sea. Now, once it gets towards the western Caribbean, it will be undercut. And so that's why the Hurricane Center is thinking that it will weaken from a Category 3 down to a Category 1, but still a hurricane, and then we'll have to see what happens after that. There's another look at it on the water vapor imagery, and right in here, where I circled in red, that's where the eye of the hurricane is. A buzzsaw headed straight west right now at about 20 miles per hour. Now, where the hurricane is in relation to the islands is right about there. Okay, that's the latest lat long as of 11 p.m. Atlantic time. Now, the islands that we are worried about in the hurricane warning area are Grenada, Barbados to St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines, right in there. And the forecast has it continues to move west at 20. Now, if it moves straight west, obviously that would take it very near Trinidad and Tobago. But as it strengthens into a dangerous major hurricane, it should move a little bit more north of west. So if you're in Grenada, I know it's hard to believe. It's been 20 years. It's hard to believe for me. It doesn't feel like 20 years ago, but in September 2004, Hurricane Ivan went over the island of Grenada as a strengthening hurricane. It was a Category 4 out here, and then it weakened quickly down to a 2, and then it came back to a 4. So it went over Grenada as a Category 3, but it was rapidly strengthening. It caused $1 billion in damage. I think 39 people were killed. And it actually damaged a 17th century prison, and inmates escaped during the height of the storm at night. Talk about a horror movie. That was Hurricane Ivan. Hurricane Janet back in 1955 also hit Grenada and these islands very bad. As a matter of fact, Hurricane Janet 1955 is the only hurricane where we lost a reconnaissance aircraft in the middle of a hurricane. Here's a map I wanted to show you. Now, these are the Grenadines, and so this is Curaçao, Petite Martinique, Petite St. Vincent. These are very tiny islands, but they do have populations, upwards of 10,000 people, and so this is kind of where it looks like the hurricane's going to cross. If you look at that hurricane track, it looks like it might come in north of Grenada and south of St. Vincent. And that would put it really right over some of these little islands in the Grenadines. And so if you are in those islands, I've had people watch these videos from Trinidad, Tobago, the Grenadines. If you are in these southern Windward Islands, you need to be on alert for the worst, a major hurricane. Right now, 125 miles per hour is the forecast. Here's the European ensembles. Now, this was as of 12Z on Saturday, and they continue the storm straight through the Caribbean. So Jamaica, you guys need to be checking out your hurricane plan, how you would prepare in case Hurricane Beryl heads your way. And then beyond that, definitely the Yucatan Peninsula, but don't take your eye off the ball along the Gulf Coast, even in the United States. Don't think that this thing's just going to fall right apart and head in. There's always the chance of it kind of gaining some momentum. If there's a weakness in the high pressure ridge to the north, we could see a more northward motion. As a matter of fact, here is the GFS model. Now this is the 18Z. Watch what happens after it hits the Yucatan Peninsula, 4th of July, 5th of July. By the time next week comes along, it re-intensifies into a strong hurricane and slams into South Texas. So again, if you're in that area, don't take your eye off the ball. Don't think that Beryl's going to weaken here and then fall apart. It could always reemerge into the Gulf of Mexico, the very warm waters, and do something. Now, right now, that's just one model run from the GFS, but still. Here is the HWRF model, and this is a hurricane model that we like to look at, and we don't like to look at this one. This is as of 18Z. It has the hurricane going squarely through the islands as a Category 3 or 4. And then taking aim at Jamaica. Now, what's funny is a lot of times they dance around Jamaica. It's very rare that a hurricane goes straight over the island of Jamaica. It happened in 1988 with Hurricane Gilbert that went straight over Jamaica, I believe as a Category 3. But usually they dance around, and that's what this model's showing. And then the hurricane weakens, but still a powerful hurricane headed towards areas of Cancun and Cozumel. The HMON hurricane model as of 18Z, not much better. Right over the islands, and then a Category 4 hurricane roaring through the Caribbean Sea all the way through the 4th of July, and then well south of Jamaica. And this model actually brings it very, very close to Belize and the northern coastline there of Honduras. And it weakens it even though that radar presentation, I'm a little bit perplexed. It shows it as a tropical depression or tropical storm, but it looks like a major hurricane. But regardless, the point is a track through the Caribbean is what we're looking at with Hurricane Beryl. Beryl's not the only game in town. We have our Invest 94L in the Gulf of Mexico about to emerge in the Bay of Campeche. That is a 50% chance of development, similar to Tropical Storm Alberto, where they can develop over the Bay of Campeche and then move into Mexico. That is a moderate chance. The more disturbing chance is this wave behind the hurricane, and this is a 30% chance in the next 48 hours, but a 70% chance in the next 7 days. And look at this. Look at where it's expected to go. Right in the same area as we see our Hurricane Beryl headed. So this system behind Beryl could be another feature that we're talking about by the time next week rolls around, if not sooner. And we'll have to watch this area in the Gulf in case that gets going. I think it might. There's a good spin in here about to emerge into the Bay of Campeche. If it does, it's going to go straight into Mexico from areas of Tampico south in the state of Veracruz, but still some heavy rainfall and moisture there in areas of Mexico and the Yucatan, and it might become a tropical depression or a tropical storm as it moves towards the Mexican coastline. So we're going to watch that very carefully. Again, this is a very abnormal late June. Normally we don't have this. This looks more like August, and with the pattern we've seen all year, it's not surprising, but it does make us wonder if this is June 29th, June 30th. What are we going to see August 29th and August 30th in the heart of the hurricane season? So again, there's our Hurricane Beryl headed towards the Windward Islands. There's our system behind it looking much better organized. This is not an invest yet as of late Saturday night. However, it could become one. The key messages for Hurricane Beryl, I know this update's kind of long, but this is a dangerous hurricane. Number one, Beryl is expected to be a dangerous major hurricane, at least a high-end Category 3, when it reaches the Windward Islands late Sunday or Monday, bringing destructive hurricane-force winds and life-threatening storm surge. Hurricane warnings are in effect, as I mentioned before. Number two, heavy rainfall and localized flooding is expected across the Windward Islands Sunday night and Monday. And number three, interest in the Central and Western Caribbean should monitor the progress. And remember, there's large uncertainty in the long term about where exactly Beryl will go and how strong she will be. And there's the information in Spanish. So again, there's our hurricane on the left side of the screen here. And look at this wave really getting organized here, taking its time behind Beryl. And another wave about to leave Africa in a day or so. So the African wave train, which normally is hot in August, is hot in late June. So again, a very active tropical Atlantic. The system near the Gulf could become a tropical depression or storm before moving into Mexico. The system behind the hurricane could be a feature down the road for the islands. But in the next 3, 4, 5 days, the focus will be on our strengthening Hurricane Beryl headed towards areas of the Windward Islands. Stay tuned for further updates as this serious hurricane approaches the Caribbean.